everyone, welcome back. This is my second video in a series where I am counting down my top 5 favourite places to visit in each Australian state. Last week I counted down my favourite places to visit in Western Australia, and you can take a look at that now if you like, or you can watch it maybe after you finished watching this video. Yeah, do that. Okay, so last week we looked at Australia's largest state, and this week we are going to be counting down my top 5 places to visit in Queensland, the second largest of the Australian states. That worked out nicely, didn't it? These are all places I have visited and I consider to be the best places to visit in Queensland. So take it from me, a thoroughbred pommy. No, can't, I'm not using that. Okay, let's kick off this list with number 5. Which is the Glasshouse Mountains. I only spent a day here, yet I'm putting it into my top 5. So what does that tell you? They're just an hour drive from Brisbane, so it's a really easy commute. The highlight by far is this hike, which is to the Mount Ngunngun summit. Did I say that right? Probably not. But there are many hikes to choose from, which you may need several days for. And nearby you can visit the Australia Zoo, which is owned by the family of the late and great crocodile hunter Steve Irwin. I didn't visit the zoo because I just didn't have time. I know not everyone believes that zoos are very ethical, although I do believe some are necessary for rehabilitation and conservation. But I'll just leave it at that. Do your research and, make that decision for yourself. Okay, we are moving on to number 4 on this list, which is Fraser Island. Fraser Island is the largest sand island in the world and is recognised as only one of 19 UNESCO heritage sites in Australia. You've got lakes and beaches and rainforests and snakes. Snakes! Oh my god, snakes! Oh, it's only small, so it's probably harmless, right?
It's a carpet python, it's a constrictor. It strangles its victims, basically squeezes the life out of them.
How did we make it out alive? Okay, so forget about the snakes that can literally squeeze you to death. You can also find on the island these cute dog-like creatures called dingoes. In all seriousness, dingoes rarely attack humans. Of course, you're much more vulnerable as a baby. So if you're a baby watching this, I would recommend you wait until you're older before you visit. I mean, that logic can be applied to most things, I guess. Babies are pretty useless. Some of the highlights of Fraser Island include the champagne pools, where the water crashes over the rocks, making tiny little bubbles that look like champagne. Sorry, there's no actual champagne, although that would be a lot cooler. You can also float down some natural rapids or explore this awesome shipwreck along the beach. You can get to Fraser Island by taking a ferry from Hervey Bay or Rainbow Beach. I took a 3-day 4-wheel drive tour with the Pippies tag-along tour, and I had so much fun. I loved it because I got to meet a ton of fun people and I got to drive around the island in a Jeep. And I mean actually drive it. I've put a link to the Pippies website in the description if you want to take a look. Not getting paid to advertise, I just really enjoyed the tour. And I think the people I met on the tour was the best thing about the whole island experience, in all honesty. We camped in tents, we all banded together to make food for the entire camp, and I just loved the entire atmosphere. Just don't be like these people who never went in the water or did anything fun. Just don't be that person. So coming in at number 3 on our list is Cairns and the Great Barrier Reef. Yes, I have lumped Cairns and the Great Barrier Reef in together because I feel like the main reason people go to Cairns is to go to the Great Barrier Reef. And yes, one of the greatest wonders of the world did not make it to number 1, okay? Fight me. But the reason I didn't put the Great Barrier Reef at number 1 is because it is unfortunately dying. And depending on which parts of the reef you visit, people can have a very different experience. You know, the Great Barrier Reef is a victim of mass bleaching, which is linked to climate change. So it's a whole big issue. It's not an easy problem to fix. We're definitely not doing enough to protect it, but there is still hope. And actually, when you go on these tours around the Great Barrier Reef, a lot of the money does go towards the conservation of the reef. So it's still worth visiting, and there's still plenty of great things to see and do when you're there. To really make it worth your visit though, you do need to go snorkeling or scuba diving. I went on a 3-day scuba diving tour with Pro Dive Cairns. And yes, I am aware there are some amazing dive sites all around the world that probably are prettier than the Great Barrier Reef. However, there's still some great shipwrecks to visit like the SS Yongala, and there's all sorts of wildlife like turtles and sharks. Don't worry, not scary ones. Oh, and of course, whales. On our way back from our tour, we actually came across a humpback whale and her calf. And it was the sweetest thing because the calf kept jumping out of the water time and time again. It was definitely showing off. The mother wasn't bothered at all. The mother just kept on swimming. She was probably just like, Timmy, stop messing about. Come on. I need to get home and make dinner. Feed you some crow. Don't forget, you can see the Great Barrier Reef from space. So I think a helicopter ride over the reef would be really cool. But I didn't do that because I don't have enough money. And for our runner-up on this list, we have Magnetic Island, affectionately known as Maggie Island. This small little island is just 20 to 40 minute ferry ride. Why can't I say ferry ride? This island is just a 20 to 40 minute ferry ride from the coast of Townsville. And I really do believe this island has something for everyone, whether you're looking for a romantic getaway or a family fun adventure, or you just want to do some pure partying for a few days. Remember kids, always party responsibly, like I always have done. The island has luxury apartments and resorts, as well as backpacker hostels, including Base Backpackers, which is where I stayed. And look, you can stay in these cute little huts that sit right on the water's edge. Look how pretty that is. That is just adorable. There's just something about Maggie Island that makes you feel like you're in a completely remote part of the world. It's got gorgeous sandy beaches, great mountain views of the beach. There's seaside restaurants. You're just always by the sea. In fact, did you know that when you're on an island, you're always surrounded by water? Think about it. And look, if you're lucky, you can spot koalas on your hike up the mountain. Please do not touch them though, they are wild animals. And if you visit Arcadia at around 4:30 p.m. in the afternoon, then you'll find rock wallabies hanging around waiting for the public to feed them. You can feed the wallabies, just be careful what you feed them, there are guidelines. You can buy pellets from the local shop, but they also enjoy some vegetables like carrots and sweet potatoes. They're so cute! But if you're looking for something to get your heart pumping a little bit of adrenaline, then you can go down to Horseshoe Bay and partake in some water sports like jet skiing or water skiing. Guys, I've not even got to the best part yet. The island is around 52 square kilometers big, but you can still see the entire thing in one day, only by the coolest mode of transport ever. Imagine how suave and cool you would look riding around in one of these. It's a Barbie Jeep. I'm not joking, it's a real thing, and isn't it amazing? Unfortunately, we couldn't get our hands on one because they're just that popular, so we had to go around in a regular old boring Jeep, which was fine, I guess. Do I need to list any more reasons to visit Maggie Island? No? Didn't think so. So having seen the first 4 on this list, could you guess what was number 1 on my list? It is, of course, the Whitsunday Islands. The Whitsunday Islands is an archipelago. I don't actually know how that word is pronounced. The Whitsundays is an archipelago of 74 islands, not far from the Barrier Reef, and is home to probably the most beautiful beach on the entire planet. I mentioned this in my previous video where I talked about the different climates around Australia, which you might find useful when planning your next visit. You can actually stay on Hamilton Island, which is the largest of the islands, and you can stay at the luxury Qualia Resort in a secluded pavilion with your own spa, 5-star foods, and watch the luxury yachts float by during the Hamilton Island Regatta Race Week. What a glamorous life I lead! I'm just kidding. That definitely wasn't my experience because, and say it with me now, I am poor, yes. Okay, so I joke about being poor and not having money for this and that, but that's of course not true. It's just about prioritizing your money and deciding what's really important to you. And what was really important to me was to meet other travelers and have a real adventure. And that's why I opted for going on a 3-day boat tour around the islands. And we had such an awesome time. I had a great time snorkeling at the Whitsundays. There's lots of great tropical fish. Including this guy. This guy's name's George. Say hi, George. Whoa, okay, too close. Did you see me get freaked out by that fish? When you guys visit the Whitehaven beach, I do hope that you have better luck with the weather than we did. We literally managed to pick the 2 rainiest days in amongst this streak of sunny weather. If you go wading in the water, you will spot so many stingrays. Very cool, you can get a really up close look at them. Just be careful where you put your feet. Seriously, be careful, keep an eye out. Cool. At one point it was pouring with rain, the winds were howling, but we all stood outside and just watched this whale swimming unusually close to the shore. And we just stood there for minutes and minutes getting drenched in the rain, just watching the whale go by. I mean, it's moments like that I really remember and yeah, I really enjoy. And I think that's what's so great about the boat tour. You will not have the same experience as anyone else. Every boat tour is going to be unique. You just don't know what's going to happen. So there you have it. That was my top 5 places to visit in Queensland, according to a Pommy. I hope that gave you some inspiration for the future, but before we finish, I just want to name some honourable mentions that didn't quite make the cut. First on my honourable mentions list is the Daintree Rainforest, which is a beautiful part of Queensland about 2 hours north of Cairns. I did get a chance to drive up here, spent a few hours before I had to come all the way back to Cairns. I had to return my hire car early, so I didn't even get a chance to go into the rainforest properly. But if I had the chance, I would definitely go back and explore the area. And you can even take a boat tour down the river and go crocodile hunting. Not literally, I just mean figuratively. You just go see them. You don't actually do anything to harm them. You just go see, spot crocodiles, go, oh look, that's a nice crocodile, and then you leave. My next honourable mention goes to the Noosa National Park. This is just a really beautiful part of the coast to walk along. And if you're lucky, you might spot a koala or 2, so keep your eye on the trees. But of course, beware of those drop bears. And it's also a great place to stay if you're camping. So I guess my final honourable mention should be Brisbane. I only passed through, so I didn't even really get a chance to visit Brisbane. I hear Brisbane has a big art scene, plenty of restaurants and shopping and all the rest of it. Maybe if I get a chance to visit Australia again, I should go spend more time in Brisbane. I don't know, what do you think? How do you think it compares to some of the other cities in Australia? Like, I want to know. Should I prioritise Brisbane if I ever return to Australia? Let me know in the comments. And that is it for this video. Let me know in the comments if you agree with my choices, if you disagree. Is there anywhere that I missed out and you're completely outraged by it? Whoa, calm down. It's just a matter of opinion. I'm sorry. Remember to check out my first video, which was looking at my top 5 places to visit in Western Australia. And I'll be back next Monday at 6 PM to look at our next Australian state. So come back then to find out which state that will be. Okay, bye guys. Elbow 5, elbow 5, elbow 5. Yeah, elbow 5, elbow 5.